Welcome to the Financial Times' Nordic Roundup for September. My name's Richard Milne, I'm the FT's Nordic and Baltic correspondent. Autumn is well on its way here, but there's no sign of the interest in Nordics withering. My top story this month, in fact my most read story for the entire year so far, was a long interview I did with the man of the moment, Sweden's state epidemiologist Anders Tegnell. He talked about why he thought lockdowns were using a hammer to kill a fly, why he thinks Sweden's strategy is more sustainable. It was a very interesting long interview. I'd urge you to check it out. It wasn't all about Sweden this month. A couple of stories from Norway. Norway, known really as a land of equality, so it's something of a surprise that the world's fifth oldest gentlemen's club is based here in Oslo. Has many older figures from the business world, culture, and it's really become a huge debate this summer in Norway about why women aren't allowed to belong to this club. The second story from Norway I'd like to highlight is about the oil fund. This time it's nothing to do with the appointment of its new chief executive. In fact, Nicolai Tangen is hard at work now, but instead it's the government suggesting that the oil fund reduce its exposure to European stocks and increase it to American stocks. Now this is at a time when American stocks, particularly technology stocks, are viewed as very expensive. So how wise a move is that? A couple of extra stories about Sweden, not particularly to do with COVID. One of the things that's been happening in Sweden this summer has been some extraordinary crime stories, rather grotesque actually. There's been a case of a 12-year-old girl being caught in gang crossfire, dying, two teenagers buried and tortured in what's called a humiliation robbery. And so the right wing in Swedish politics, which have struggled to sort of figure out how to respond to COVID, have seized on this and are calling it a second pandemic that Sweden's facing. Another story was that Sweden went on the highest state of military readiness this month since the 1990s and the end of the Cold War. This has a lot to do with Russian military exercises. There's also some nervousness in the Baltic Sea around what's happening in Belarus. It was a very read story, including an interview with Sweden's Foreign Minister Ann Linde. And finally, for something, I don't know whether it's approaching light relief, but something a little bit different, I, probably like many of you, have actually worked harder than ever during this pandemic, even harder than during the financial crisis. But we ran an article to say, is this now the time, given that there don't seem to be so many limits between work and home life, is this the time that people should be working less? Should there be a 4-day working week? That's obviously been a big topic in various Nordic countries at times. There have been experiments in Finland, in Sweden on this, and I suggest you check it out.